Good morning, everybody. It's time for another delicious edition of Texas Oatmeal. Today we're working on the Vanderhall as usual because, I just don't do much with the truck. It's kind of where it's going to be for now. So it's clean. I did wash it this morning. But we're going to work on the Vanderhall today. You see I've got the hood off already because I'm going to do an oil change. That's going to be a different video. Today we're actually working on a modification for the seat. So just the passenger seat, I end up moving that forward all the time to get to my rear cargo compartment, and it only comes forward a little bit, and I want it to come forward more. Actually, I'm going to make it flip forward so that you can just flip it up out of the way, get to the cargo department, and flip it back down. And I've seen a guy or two do this modification already. Nobody has filmed it or shown how it works, so I'm going to do that for you guys right now. So first off, you've got to remove the seat. Now, a lot of people think this is really hard, and it is hard if you don't know how to get to the rear bolts of the seat. The front ones are pretty straightforward. They're just right here where you can get to them fairly easily. You slide the seat all the way back as far as you can, and you push back on the material a little bit, and you can get to that bolt. It's a little tricky because your wrench wants to go down there at an angle, but you can get to them pretty easy. The back ones, even when you slide the seat all the way forward, you just can't get to them. Not that you guys can see anything down there except this rain poncho that needs to move. But the bolts that are down here, you just can't get to them basically at all with the seat in the way. They're black, so you can't really see the bolt down here. But I'm going to show you how to line the seat up so that you can get to those bolts. Okay, so with the seat all the way back, you can see what you're dealing with here. I've got a pretty long extension just because that's what I had. You don't necessarily need one this long. This is like a 12-inch extension. You could probably go ahead and do it with, like, I don't know, an 8-inch or something. But I've got, just a ratchet set up to get to that. The front bolts, and I just have to push on the seat just a little bit to get to it so that I can get them undone. Nothing special there, just ratchet it till the bolt comes out. Okay, and so now that the front two bolts are out, we're going to set those aside for a minute. I'm just going to lay them right there. I'm going to switch to the next bit. The back ones are a different size, at least on mine. We know that Vanderhall doesn't keep these very consistent. So the front is a 3/16 Allen wrench that I used. I don't have the proper Allen size for the rear, I don't think. Yep, I don't have the right size Allen bit for this, but a T40 star Torx bit happens to fit the rear bolts of the Vanderhall. So now we've got a flashlight down here. Basically what we're going to do is we need to get that bolt out of there, right? So to do that, I'll leave my flashlight behind here so I can see, and I'm going to look down in between the seats, right? If you push the seats apart, you can actually see down in there, right? So if we slide this back a little bit, if we slide the seat back a little bit, holding my hand in between the seat cushion, I can get it pretty lined up. And now I can see straight down in here. I can see straight down in there to the bolt, right? And then it's just a matter of running your long extension down in there to get to it. So with one hand spreading the back and the cushion, seat cushion out, you can get right down into the head of the bolt and undo it. So these are the two back bolts, and you see they're just a different size from my front ones. I don't know if your Vanderhall will be the same or not, but anyways, mine are two different sizes. But you take those 4 bolts out, and the seat is now free, and you can get it out. But now, what's next is I'm going to take these sliders off so that I can make this seat flip forward and not slide. It's not going to slide back and forth anymore, but I don't really care about that. I want the whole seat to flip forward and be at a certain position, so I don't care how it works. So yeah, I'm gonna take these sliders off and then figure out where to bolt this all together so that I can make it flip forward and be at the proper location in the car itself so that it sits where I want it to sit and all that. Okay, so I have to remove that screw on both sides and then adjust this slider so that I can get to the other screw probably on the back side here. I need to adjust the slider forward so I can get to that one. But I'm going to cheat a little bit. I got the drill out and we're going to not tighten it. I'm going to cheat a little bit and do this a little faster than with the connector. Okay, so there's that. So now I've just got, you know, these 4 holes that I'm working with here. I don't think there's anything else. No. If you want to know how your seat cover comes off, it is just velcroed onto this, it appears. So if you want to take your seat back apart and replace the panels, if you've thought about buying the other leather panels to make your seat not black or whatever color you want it, it appears that it's all just velcroed on. So yeah, that's fun. So this is what we're working with. We've got 2 hinges for a motorcycle seat. So these, it says for Harley Davidson, but I'm sure it's just generic motorcycle, that you can bolt this onto your seat and allow your motorcycle seat to flip forward. So I got 2 of these. They came, I think, single, and I had to buy 2. I'll figure that out and put it on the screen to what I really had to do. I bought these so long ago I can't remember now. I've got some washers to run our bolts through because the head of the bolt is not quite going to grab in here the way you would want it to. So I got a washers to fix that. And then these are PVC, 1-inch PVC cup end caps of some kind. You need to put a spacer in this because if you're attaching this to the seat, it won't sit flat unless you have something in the back of the seat to catch it. Now this is extreme. This is actually going to go a lot further back on the seat itself, where this is going to be bolted to the front area of the seat. But you need something to make this level when you bolt it all back in there. But that's the basic idea. So I'm going to drill a hole in these. I'm going to drill a hole in these so that these can bolt into the seat where the back of the slider was, and then bolt this on where the front of the slider was, and then 1 bolt in the front where the seat bracket originally was bolted into the frame. Okay, we'll skip a bunch of steps and get right to that. Okay, so I have no idea how this is really going to go. I'm going to bolt these on the back. Oh, just so you can see, I put a hole in the top of those and then ran the bolt through this way so that it would reach. Yeah, pretty simple. Okay, so those are my spacers. These pieces are going to go on here like that, and it's going to allow me to slide this back and forth at first, to see where I need this to go. The tricky part is I may need to flip this around so that this sticks out the front and I can get to that bolt. So I think I'm going to do that first, flip these around 180 degrees, because once this is on here, you can't get to this bolt. I mean, I guess if you flip the seat all the way up, but you're not going to be able to do that. I need to flip this around first, so I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll come right back to this. And just like that, we are flipped around the right direction. So got my bolt. I lost my washer. Okay, so that's the overall look we're going for there. We've got the bolt going through into the seat. So I ran this through on this side to get an idea of where I wanted this to be spaced back and forth. And so I slid it all the way back, as far back as I could, because I feel like that's about where the stock bolt was, because it was kind of far under the front edge of this. So that's where we're starting anyways. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So obviously my washers didn't fit very well, but the drill sunk it down in there pretty good. Those are on nice and tight. So in theory, these should both line up straight across here and bolt back into where it needs to be. So yeah, we're gonna try that. Set this in here, see if we can get the bolts in, and see where the spacing is inside the car itself to make sure that this is sitting where I want it to sit. Okay, so setting it as far up as I could, we're pretty much where we need to be. I think I'm gonna have to push back on the seat just a little bit, but clearly these need to go as far forward as they are right now as you can possibly get them for this to line up. But they're definitely gonna line up at that spacing. So yeah, that's where you put them. And I'm gonna throw the bolts back in these, and then we'll test if this guy will flip forward or not. And after I ended the video, I test fit this a few more times, and it turns out you do have to move it forward about an inch, maybe a little less than an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch forward. So I drilled my own hole and moved it all so that it would line up better. Yep. And just so you guys can see, when this is all lined up properly, these thread in by hand. You shouldn't be forcing them down in there. If it's all lined up right, you can get them all the way in by hand, and then put your extension on and get them in there just that little bit extra. Okay, so with this in there now, you can get this whole seat flipped forward. Now you do have to be a little cautious because it will hit the window, because this isn't really, since we're not really doing this the proper way by tilting just the seat back forward, we're tilting the whole seat. It allows this to come up and hit the window or the windshield. So be cautious of that. But look at all the room that you get now when you can fold the seat forward to get to your storage compartment. Now never mind this little door that I have on here. I know you guys don't know that I've made that, but I made that, and I'll do a video about the write-up on that at some point. But I wanted to get this seat flipped forward for this next trip we're about to be on. So you can see that obviously now that we're lifting this up, there needs to be some wires attached, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to tie those up a little bit more. But yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. I got to tighten these down here in the front, where I just kind of hand tighten them just to see what would happen. Anyways, that's a real quick way to do that. I think it's like, I think those little seat brackets are 20 bucks or something. So if you have to buy two, it's $40. $40 to be able to lift your seat forward to get to your rear luggage compartment without just sliding the seat forward. And obviously now you can get quite a bit more in there because you don't have the seat that's in the way. So I think it's awesome. Say what you will about the safety of it. I'm not that concerned about it. If somebody sees this video and wants to ride with me and they're concerned about it, then they don't have to ride with me. So I'm gonna leave it alone and not worry about it. So that's really gonna be it for today. I'm gonna tighten those back down and we will see you next time. Peace.
You must be blinded by the lights. We came to shine here. Watch it look daytime in the night. We bring the vibes here. We full of life, you keep the change. Keep the change.